Take two. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast episode of Ghost Paranormal Investigators. I want to talk more about the paranormal investigators first for the first podcast. When people go out ghost hunting, a lot of times this is going to be episode 1 of the podcast. Just to let everybody know, it's going to be episode 1. And when people go ahead and hunt ghosts, it's like ghosts are mostly entities that don't want to leave that one spot. And so, whatever happens, it strays off occasionally to where ghosts can do whatever they can to survive and thrive and stick with that one perimeter. Pardon me about the kid. We stick with the kid. We stick what we know about ghosts, and we can only go on theories. What they do. I mean, take this coffee cup for example. They might move the coffee cup one way to another way. It depends on how they move the object. A lot of times, that's going to be kind of hard. This is going to be episode 1, like I said. And when they move certain objects, yes, that does happen in reality, in life. But when they move a certain object, you don't know what's going to happen. They could have been haunted by an evil spirit that was a murderer. They could have been haunted by it. And I think it draws the occasion out to a certain degree, a level, to where it just so happens when these guys do paranormal investigators, it happens when they do it. And I think 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that in paranormal investigations. That drives the educational way of looking at paranormal investigators. At what they do, they have to go on research. I mean, if you watch the Ghost Hunters years ago, Jason Grant, you get into that line of work, cause a terror rip in the line of work, that would have been, two things to another. It would have been hard for them to do this. And when you look at paranormal investigators today, they use the same techniques as Jason Grant, a little bit more advanced. But when they do this, it's going to be one line to another to where it doesn't, anyway. So when they do paranormal investigations, they consider not to, it depends if it's a deity, an entity, and got to, whatever you want to call the demon, whatever you want to call it, the spirit. If it's tied to that place, it's tied to it. And it happens when they're tied to that one place. It just so happens when they do it. This is going to be probably a pretty long segment. When they're not tied to it, paranormal investigators, they know what to look for because they've done the research on the building first. See if there was a murderer. See if there was people that were abused. See if they were abused in their own bed. They do the research. 9 times out of 10, that will do the research when they do it. And when you do the research, it happens when they move in and do the research themselves. A lot of times they go in one room, and a lot of times they'll go in the other one. So when they do these things, it's most likely they're going to end up making the ghost mad or making him suffer from one thing to another. It's going to be their word against theirs. It's not too common to say that paranormal investigators do the work, but they do the study of the building first. See if there was a murder there, if there was a hospital there with kids, and if the kid haunts that place and that one spot. It was like, one thing about it, it was like, they'll haunt that one spot. I remember this one time, that there was a kid that it was supposed to be a hospital, supposed to be a mental institution, And it was mostly, and I'm going to talk about this about 3 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. Um, Me and my mom found, and we were alive. They were alive during the whole October. And when they ran their live, this is before they broke up. And Jason and Grant, when they were moving down, they passed a ball. And I think the ball moved. I couldn't really prove it. But they're looking more into the paranormal investigation like it. And when they look at this, and they look at that ball, they had to make sure that this ball moved. They did their investigation, they were investigating it, and I remembered. And if I could find that episode to where they passed the ball, and I thought the ball moved for obvious reasons. I thought it moved after they passed it. And it was like, holy crap, it moved. There's something there. But that used to be a clinic. It used to be a mental institution. They knew what to do. But I didn't see anything. But I thought it moved. It was like, whoops, whatever happened, it happened. It just so happens when you do something like that, it's more likely to say, your eyes can deceive you when you go into paranormal investigations. You could make sure that the paranormal investigator knows what they're doing, make sure they know what they're having, what they're doing to this investigation, and it drives the way of paranormal investigations for this. And I want to throw this podcast out for hunting ghosts, to where this is going to be the first episode where we're going to be talking about ghost hunting and paranormal investigations for the first episode, but we are going to talk about a lot of this stuff in the next episode, next 3 episodes probably. But when we do this thing, like and subscribe to the video, to this new channel I have created to a podcast. When you think about paranormal investigators, you think about the hospital. You think about a mental institution that was abandoned since the 1920s. Alcatraz. There's been a lot of stuff about Alcatraz. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on with. There's a lot of paranormal investigations I've been seeing. There's a lot of ghost sightings to the one thing to the other, and I'm not too keen on it, but I agree with most of what they're saying. A lot of times their theories are off. A lot of times their notions are off. A lot of times but it strays off occasionally to where one person might stay another, or one person might not do the other. It strays off occasionally to where they got to look at every part of the building first before they go in and do it. That's going to be tough. I'm hours behind this podcast. This is going to be a late podcast episode, but better late than never, like they say. But when they do this, they know when to quit. They know when to do it. I remember watching Fear. It just glitched. But I remember watching Fear. And these are young kids that took paranormal investigation to an extreme limit. And to me, it was a joke. I believed in ghosts. I believe in spirits. I believe in all sorts of entities. Because I believe in that stuff. I believe this could happen to the person. But when I watched that, it was like, Fear was a joke. Alright, we all know it was a joke. I remember watching it, and I got so hooked on it. That was the first time I've seen anything like that. But when you think about paranormal investigations, it was more likely, to say the least, that these people know about entities, demonologists, anything else they could throw at them, let them. It's just, that's the thing about ghosts that I like. They knew not to leave that place. But paranormal investigators are trying to get them out of the house, get them out of the building, get them out of the insane asylum. Because if they're stuck in that one room, what makes to say that this person ran it, saying, I don't want to leave. I remember 2 investigations that they had. One was on fear, the other one was on ghost hunters, and I remembered one where one guy got electrocuted and never made it out. The question was, what really did happen to him was more of the certainty of what this person did. The other one was they were investigating a murderer, and that was, and I think they were chasing the crime when they first started back in 2002, 2001. I have to remember when they started. But they knew when to do the research about these people, even if they were convicted murderers, and they still like to kill. A lot of times their spirit still kills and does everything. A lot of times they'll do that. And it happens with other people doing this to a certain degree, to a certain knowledge. You know, this is like, okay, the spirit is hooked on killing. How do they get rid of the killings to where it just so happens when they do kill, when they do the research, when they do everything, and it's just so happens everything else between. And a lot of times when you do that research, you got to make sure that this person is in the right state of mind, or is he not? You know, you have to learn about that ghost, that, or the spirit, depending on how you say it. But there's 2 ways of saying it, like my aunt said. There's 2 ways of saying it. 9 times out of 10, I mean, call me paranoid, call me crazy, but 9 times out of 10, they'll do the research. They'll do what they can to make amends for that person. And you can make amends for them. Like, say, you better forgive God to what you did and leave the place you're haunting. Leave the place that they're doing. That's what ghost hunters are trying to do, is try to put the spirit at ease if they're connected to that one room. I remember, and if you guys watch Toy Miracles podcast, The Confessionals, he does a lot of the paranormal investigations, like Bigfoot and all that, ghosts, you know. And I was just watching a little bit of that, trying to learn from him, where I could do the podcast like this, to where it just so happens we're going to be doing, and this might be a good segment for me to talk about more about the hunters, more about ghosts. I'll have to think about it. Well, yeah, when you think about people like that, you have to make some sort of a connection. But when these guys go out and hunt for spirits that have been connected to that place, connected to a place in the building, it could be anything. It could be Al Capone's quarters in Alcatraz, for all we know. You know, you gotta learn what these guys wanted. And if they get back to the roots of killing, and if they're still killing to this day, think about that for a second. If they're still killing to this day, in their spirit, and the ghost side of them is still killing, but you're feeling that cold energy going right through you. Ghost hunters have to learn that. Other people have to learn that when they do a lot of research, do a lot of time. A lot of times they're going to have to do the research, and a lot of times when I do it, I do the research myself because I like paranormal investigations. And I like ghost hunting, and I like looking at it. I mean, if you look at my one channel, which I've done a horror channel, I do more of ghost looks, everything else between that. You know, if you go to my YouTube channels, I do one horror channel. This is the 4th channel I have done for podcasting. So this is only episode 1 I'm doing. I'm going to plan out episode 2 maybe tomorrow. If everything goes well, you know, I'm going to do that. But when you look at paranormal investigations, you look at them like, okay, they're going to do this. Stab me with a knife. Shoot me with a gun. You know, that's one thing about these ghosts, that plugged into the past. But the question is, why are they hooked on? They don't want to let anything go. They don't want to let anything go because it belonged to them. It belonged to them for obvious reasons. Obvious reasons they do that. And the paranormal investigators have to do that research. Let's say they had Jack the Ripper, which I know they did research on that. They said Jack the Ripper was a serial murderer. But how did he murder his victims? And they're still saying he murders to that day. I remember 4 different cases saying that spirit or that ghost, no matter how you put it, is saying where that one person is still killing today, even if they're dead. But it won't touch you. It won't hurt you. It won't harm you. 9 times out of 10, that will happen. And when they do that, they'll know when to suck anybody dry of their soul, saying, I'm going to come after you. All you have to do is look for a cold spot in a room. And this goes for a paranormal investigation. Look for a cold spot in any room. Even if it's a deity, a demon, a ghost. They'll tell you, look for that one cold spot. 9 times out of 10, you'll look for that one cold spot. It does happen. And this first episode would be not completed without anything. But like I said, when they look for something, they'll do it. But when that one person was connected to that one place, it makes you wonder. I remember another case that I took when I wanted to become a ghost hunter when I was pretty young. It looked pretty interesting. I got into it. I learned more about UFOs, aliens, ghosts. I'm in between all this. But I will be looking into doing more of this stuff. But when they do this, it's like you look at this person saying, okay, I don't believe you. You're a bunch of crap. You're a lying, cheating guy that doesn't know anything. So I've been looking straight off occasionally. It does that. Now, if you like this first episode, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see episode 2, I will do another episode, and maybe I'll still do it later time. But when they do it, it was more of what they could do. I mean, granted, they're only one person. It's okay being it. And they're only one person that does this whole thing. A lot of times they'll do it. A lot of times they'll do it to spook you. If they're in that one room, a lot of times they'll move one object, like a creamer for an example. I'm sure this type. Like creamer, they'll move this object just to get your attention. And when they do, they'll get your attention by looking at you like, oh, you're an idiot. You don't know this. How did you know about me? Why do you know about me? There's a difference to that. And if you like stuff like that, watch it. A lot of times that's going to happen. A lot of times out of 10, it's going to happen with a certain degree to, it's better safe than sorry to do this, but when they look at that, you think about something to do with this paranormal investigation. 9 times out of 10, when they do the paranormal investigations, it happens and strays off occasionally to where, like, this gonna be a pretty good episode for you guys to watch. And I'm just telling you the basics right now of this first episode. And when you look at paranormal investigations, you'll see that a lot of the paranormal investigators will do the research. But if you're a paranormal investigator that doesn't do the research, that doesn't do anything, I remember one family decides to go ahead and run for the hills. And, what was that show called? I used to watch it a lot. But they ran for the hills instead of hiring a paranormal investigator. it's like, okay, they're running for the hills, they lose it, they die, you know. It happens. I mean, it just so happens when they do it, they do it, and that's wrong. They'll have to face it head on. Hire somebody to do the paranormal investigator. Hire a preacher to do the job for them, you know. But let me know in the comments down below for this first episode. It's going to be pretty long. If you guys like this, let me know. Throw a thumbs up. Throw a like. And there is people there who are going to watch something like that. And when they look at it on TV, like, oh, this can happen to me. I mean, I never seen the movie The Grudge. I started watching it. But 3 times I've watched it. I changed my mind. I mean, I like my horror movies, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to the real McCoy, the real thing, pardon me, it just so happens when they do this, it's going to be hard to see that. And when you see it, realizing these spirits can haunt them. And if you remember watching the movie Ghost Town, that one spirit could be, it was a spirit of demon owners that worship the devil. And a lot of times when they worship the devil, they'll get a pentagram, and then after they kill the whole town, they work the pentagram around their circle. And when they fired off it, it represented a pentagram because of their hands. To where they had butchered so many towns. Imagine how many of these guys they had before they were able to kill themselves. That worship the dark art. You know, that would have been starting little thing into the movie. Learn how many of these people they were in the movie Ghost Town. And then all of a sudden they kill themselves. Imagine how many people that worship the dark arts and flame and turns to what they can do. Imagine that. I mean, that would have been 2 things so high to where, yes, it's going to work, it's going to not work, and a lot of times that's going to happen. So, during this first episode, I want you guys to think about this. But when you look at any paranormal investigation, if it's a demon, a deity, a ghost, a spirit, no matter what you call it, just be careful what you do. I mean, I've had my encounters of ghosts myself. But where it happens, it just so happens when they do it, they'll know when you're going to attack them. They'll know when you're going to get hurt by a ghost. You know, it just so happens when they think about it. And when they do the research, they'll do the research. If it's investigating, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, they'll investigate a murderer, a serial killer, a rapist. They'll investigate that person. And what did he do when he was alive, you know? You never know what he's going to do. I mean, once you're gone, you're gone. But if you haunt that one place, if you are connected to that one place, it just so happens when they do, they'll do it. You know, it just so happens to where this pure spirit could have been avoided to a certain degree. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about this first episode. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel working. It's going to be for this podcast only. But I will be doing ghost hunting the first part of it. To where it's going to be a mix of everything that I know. Where I have knowledge on what I can do. So when we do this stuff, we're going to do quite a bit here on the channel. To where it's going to be perfect. 9 times out of 10, you're going to see ghosts, or spirits, or demons, or entities, or aliens for the matter. Knowing what did we do to deserve to haunt them. That question I will leave up to you guys. So when they do this, it's more of what other paranormal investigators learn to a certain degree. So let me know in the comments down below about this new show I'm doing. But no, the thing I will be working on is looking at, both when you look at video games, it just so happens when they do it, they'll do it for Spot from Ghostbusters to Phasmophobia, no matter what game we chose. It gives you that sort of reality of what could this happen for real. And it has happened for real. A lot of people don't believe it, but people do believe it. People do not believe it. There's a lot of non-believers out there that sort of don't discriminate ghosts or who they are, but what they were. That's the question I leave up to you people. If you like this first episode, like, dislike, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this first podcast episode. So until next time, John Rick signing off for the Paranormal Podcast. So until next time, take care. And one other comment, if you want to put this comment, what do you think about ghost hunting? Would you like to be a ghost hunter when you grow up? And this is for the young demographic too. Or if you're a ghost hunter, let me know in the comments down below. So until next time, John Vic signing off. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a nice Saturday morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hope to talk to you probably tomorrow with another podcast video. So until next time, take care.